Justifer.
Hey, just getting this stream up and going. Things look like they're going well. I'll send out the link.
Hello, hello, hello.
Excellent.
What is going on, Justifer?
A couple more minutes for more people to join.
Just getting this stream up and going. Things look like they're going well. I'll send out the link in just a little bit.
Excellent. Sounds good. Give a couple more minutes for more people to join. We got to get Chaz on. And we'll be going full throttle in just a little bit. So Lightning Friday. Back at it. All right, so while we're getting settled and we're having more people join, we're still waiting on Chaz. I am going to, in real time, live on the stream, sign up for Amboss's new paid service. Let's see how it goes. Okay, let me get to my notes.
Wow, you really weren't kidding. Oh my gosh.
Dude, I wasn't kidding. So we started to put together some show notes in our DMs. And Justifer was laughing when I put that item on there, but no, I'm going to do it. This is the time. Okay, let's see if I can get into my box. This is the cutting edge stuff you guys have been waiting for. Oh, wait. Maybe Chaz is here ready to go to spare you guys from this. Let's see. All right. Do we have Chaz? Chaz, are you with us?
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Excellent, man. Good to hear your voice again. It's good to be back at it after a week off. So welcome all to Lightning Friday. I am your co-host, Evan Kaludis. You guys might know me from the Zeus app. Great way to take your Lightning node on the go in your pocket on your iOS or Android phone. I am joined today with the great Justifer. Justifer, you back, buddy?
I am. Yeah, might have to do a couple of changes, but happy to be here. Happy to be back after last week.
Awesome. Glad to have you. Justifer is one of the co-creators of Amboss.space, an excellent Lightning network graph explorer. We also have with us one of our other co-hosts, V Chaz.
Boom.
Chaz is the host of the great Lightning Junkies podcast. Really the best resource in the podcast space for learning about the Lightning Network. This week he had a great episode with Christian Decker of the Sea Lightning Blockstream team. And yeah, it was a really great rip, Chaz. I really like the conversation, where it went. I thought you were asked some great questions, and we got some great answers from Christian. I feel
Yeah,
like
Christian Decker is like way more eloquent than I expected. Like I've heard him before, but like his brain and where he's at is made it so easy that I didn't have to work very hard on that one, I don't think.
yeah, he was really great. He was down to earth. I think he took some topics that were quite complex and made them really digestible, and he was like really humble, and you just facilitated some great discussion out of him. It's probably the best discussion I've heard with him. It was a really awesome episode, so props to you, Chaz. So if you guys haven't yet, go subscribe to Lightning Junkies podcast. I believe the website is lightningjunkies.net. If you want to check out the page there and just listen on the web, highly recommend you guys check that out.
Please forgive me having two intros on that episode, though. Or I'm sorry, outros on that episode.
it was pretty good. I liked it. It was pretty funny, and yeah, you sold the shit out of that outro too. So you guys want to kick into it? Just for you back so. After some adjustment. Let's give Justifer another minute. Because I want to kick off Guns A-Blazing. Really dive into some bullish stuff, I would say, before we go into other topics. I think that's really the best way to do it. Yeah, Chess, I was going to bore everyone with like a live tutorial of getting set up on Amboss. But we could do that a little later in the show. I got to get my node creds. But yeah, I wanted to start getting into Bolt 12 and all the hype about that. Some really interesting functionality that this spec brings to the Lightning Network. Yeah, where to even begin with that? Well, first and foremost, you have like a whole brand new way of getting invoice. So like instead of just scanning a QR code, right, and your wallet prompting you to pay it, it's more than just a one-off. It becomes the ability to be prompted to pay every day, every hour, every week, even by a minutely basis, right? And your pricing for this as well doesn't even have to be in sats. Like someone could create an invoice for you, and it could be like a dynamic sat price and pegged to a fiat currency. So like you could say, okay, this needs to be paid for $50, and when you're ready to pay, it could generate the invoice with the proper amount of sats. It supports some crazy other stuff like Schnorr signatures. So in the future, we could have stuff like multi-sig lightning nodes. We have payer proofs. So your wallet can create like a payer key, so you can prove you paid an invoice in the future. It has support for blinded paths, so you get like a huge privacy gain. The sender doesn't necessarily need to know where a message is going. And when I say message, like this applies to both Onion messages and for payments. So really awesome privacy gains there. It's like this is quite incredible. It seems like this spec has been implemented on C-Lightning version 0.9.3. which came out back in January. However, the spec is not finalized, so they're looking to get some feedback. I haven't messed around with it too much, but I have messed around with a couple of the examples, which is pretty awesome. The biggest thing, though, is I don't think it has buy-in from the L&D team yet. So it's not like widely used, and if it doesn't get buy-in from L&D, which is pretty much the biggest implementation now, C-Lightning is the second, I would say, then it's really not going to be the full experience we expect if not every node on the network is supporting it. So that's going to be an interesting a challenge there. Oh, look, Justifer is coming back. Let's see. Yo,
Really
Justifer.
fast.
Oh, sorry. You go, Chess. What's up?
I just wanted to kind of clarify a bit here because you just kind of launched into Bolt 12. And I think there's some finer points. Yeah, we can hear you, I think. But
Do you think
talking about Bolt 12, though, I just wanted to say this really fast. That they're otherwise known as offers. And when I talked to Rusty about this, he called them super invoices. So I'm kind of partial to that name for it, even though that one's probably not going to take off. But I think it kind of makes it clear what's kind of going on a little bit. That it's, invoices as they stand now kind of suck. They're very limited, and you can't really use them as you would like a Bitcoin address. Like, back in the day, at like a sports stadium or something, you might have someone say, hey, pay me Bitcoin, get it on TV. Then you have like a bunch of Bitcoiners sending them Bitcoin or whatever, and making money just off that. And so the idea is, you would want to have something like that in Lightning. Obviously, we stopped doing that so much on Bitcoin just because of address reuse and the privacy implications. And so the idea is, could we do this on Lightning while not having that same issue with address reuse? So LN URL kind of came in as this kind of stopgap measure that would kind of address this issue, but would kind of go through the traditional web protocols. So there'd be kind of more privacy things to think about in that scenario. So what Rusty wanted to do was to have that same kind of, LN URL flexibility and all the things that it can bring with it, or including, reoccurring payments and things like that. But having it work directly through the Lightning Network. So you're not using, a web protocol that might have, different privacy issues or what have you, that you would do it through Lightning and maximize your privacy. So I think this is a really big deal. This is one of the more standout talks that I remember from the Lightning conference at the end of 2019. And it blows me away that it's like 2021, basically 2 years later, and we still don't have, we're not that close to Bolt 12 being in there, and that LND, there's like a little bit of this back and forth that I see between, those two teams, the Lightning Labs team and the Blockstream team. I'm not sure if there's real animosity or anything, but just very different ways of wanting to do things. And I think that's kind of the stopping point right now.
Can you think of a reason why LND wouldn't want to implement this this change or kind of work to make this happen?
I could only guess. I look at mostly on Twitter. I'm sure that's not where the more technical discussions are happening, but just from Twitter, you can kind of see, people from Blockstream and people from Lightning Labs just kind of being a little snippy at each other. And I kind of see it as having different philosophical approaches to what is happening. Like, I almost see like a begrudging acceptance of the spec process. I can't remember where this was. I think maybe on the Bitcoin Magazine Twitter space, but I can't remember who it was, but Lisa and Alex Bosworth were just kind of going back and forth at each other about protocol layer, app layer stuff, and there just seemed to be this kind of really snippy divergence of how things should go. And I definitely feel like AMP invoices are kind of similar to offers, and it seems to be like they think that AMP invoices might, be like the faster way to get this functionality out there, versus this kind of slower Bolt spec process, which will take much longer than just trying to push something out on the application layer. So I just think that there's a bit of a divergence on the philosophy of it all.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm not super sure what all is going on, but I mean, when I look at it, I think, L&D has what, 94% of like of usage of the Lightning Network. I mean, like 94% of users use it. That was the number that I remember. So just having other like protocol implementations kind of like balance out reliance on one organization to make all these decisions on where this protocol is going to go. I think like kind of diversifying a little bit might help balance out some of those things, or just kind of move things in different directions just for the health of the network. So yeah, I can kind of see some divergence happening. Yeah, but for offers, was that the thing that is going to kind of take like invoiceless payments and kind of give them receipts as part of it? Was that a piece of it?
Yeah, that was something that Rusty really wanted to have in there because he doesn't like key send, basically, because he's really unsatisfied with the lack of payment proofs. Like in a customer service scenario, I'm sending in X amount of Bitcoin to this exchange. They never got it, or whatever, not credited to my account. How do I prove I ever sent anything in? So his idea is we have to have some kind of receipt.
Yeah, that's a big one. I know for Amboss, we're definitely looking at using KeySend based services, but just because it simplifies workflows like so much easier. But not having a receipt, that is a real challenge. So I would really love to see some progress made on that front. So yeah, well done, Rusty.
And I think just kind of responding to what you're saying there, that the majority of the L&D, or I'm sorry, the majority of the Lightning nodes out there are L&D. But even if that's true, like I think some of the like the work that C Lightning, I mean Blockstream is doing on C Lightning, is some of the most important in the entire space. Eclair too, but I think they're even an even smaller number than the C Lightning nodes, and I think there's a couple other node implementations after that basically no one knows about. And so, like, I love C Lightning and what they're doing over there, and I wish there was less of an animosity and divergence, as you mentioned, but I also probably agree that if everyone was too hunky-dory with each other, we would get into a different kind of problematic situation where, we're going down this one path and we can't have cool stuff going on at the fringes kind of thing.
That's probably a good point, because at the end of this, if we've got two different organizations pulling the protocol in different directions and adding features or creating specs where they can, it seems like the users just might win out, because some of those developments on C Lightning, like liquidity ads, personally I'm really excited about those, and then kind of like all of these applications that are popping up out of L&D, like those, those are represent a completely different philosophy, but it's all moving the technology forward. And yeah, I think the users might win after this. I guess Suhaib is he just left us, but yeah, he works on both L&D and C Lightning, so it's always nice to get his perspective on things.
Hell yeah, shouts to Suhaib. He's the author of RTL app, Ride the Lightning. Really great interface for managing your node. And what makes it special is that it supports multiple different implementations. So if you got L&D or C Lightning or Eclair even, I believe, you can connect it to RTL, which is awesome, because I don't think there's any other dashboard that's multi-implementation. So really like that. It's really similar to Zeus in a lot of regards. So shouts to Suha.
I think that would be a really cool thing to see, actually, is having more of the Node operator software packages like MyNode, Umbrel, et cetera, include an option to do C Lightning. I know Start9 does C Lightning, but I think that really needs to be the push. Try to get as many of these service providers as possible to offer C Lightning, and maybe eventually add Eclair or something like that, so we have more than just two. Because yeah, like I could definitely imagine in a more adversarial environment that I would want more than two software packages to potentially choose from in case those two get corrupted or compromised, etc.
Absolutely. Oh, Suhaib's coming on stage. One sec.
Oh, fantastic. I saw Raspiblitz is actually adding those different implementations that you could run them in parallel on your Raspberry Pi. You could have both C Lightning and LND going at the same time.
Daring, I like it. Yeah, Suhaib, you on stage with us?
Yeah, hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. What's going on?
Cool. I heard you guys were talking about C Lightning, so just wanted to weigh in.
Hell yeah.
Sure. So I love C Lightning, right? But overall, if you look at the node space, Lightning node space, I think close to between 75 to 80% at least, I would say, based on the surveys that I've done, LND, has captured the node implementations area. But there are a couple of reasons. I looked at the space and when I was studying it, because to actually RTL runs on C Lightning, Eclair, and LND, so all the implementations. So basically, when I was studying the area, so I was actually looking at, what are the nuances, what are the differences. So there are a couple of things which kind of, stand out, which I think you can attribute as a reason for LND to actually be significantly ahead, in terms of the node implementations. So one area was when LND kind of started out, they had this out-of-the-box REST API support or gRPC support, right? Which is actually good. If you're a web developer, you can get started very easily, or an app developer, right? You just run LND and you have this API suite available, and you can start writing your applications, right? Which I think was a very powerful feature, from an app development perspective, which was not there in C Lightning. All the C Lightning is actually a very strong, powerful, reliable implementation, but it didn't have this out-of-the-box API support. Then there were a couple of other nuances also, like, for instance, LND had a lot of support for different operating systems, right? So, for instance, it had support for Windows, Mac, Raspberry Pi, Linux. So you pick any platform, you will be able to download the LND's executable and run it straight away, provided you are running Bitcoin on it, right? So that was actually very easy from a DevOps deployment perspective. All you have to do is go to the release page, download the executable, and start running it, right? So whereas if you go to C Lightning space, you'll have to, okay, now I have to start building it first, right? Now when I start building it, I have so many other errors that I have to fix, basically, right? So that kind of created some sort of a friction, in the adoption, right? It was easy to download and run LND vis-a-vis C Lightning, right? Then I would say also LND's Windows support, although I would not recommend anybody running their Lightning node on Windows, but that was actually good from the initial experimentation standpoint, right? You have a laptop running and you just want to kind of play with the Lightning in the initial days. You could easily download and start playing with it, or somebody would. So, for instance, Pierre created this node launcher solution, which actually worked seamlessly on Windows or Mac, right? And LND, since LND had a packaged executable ready to be included in such a tool, or integrated in such a deployment type tool, it made LND's adoption accelerate much faster than C Lightning, right? So I think these are some of the nuances which actually helped LND accelerate its adoption compared to C Lightning, for instance.
Excellent insights, Suhaib. I agree a lot. Yeah, I mean, ease of use to get started is definitely a huge thing, right? Of course, like there's a reason why people will use more custodial wallets than, say, sovereign self-hosted nodes and interfaces like that. So similarly, the time it takes to build and the difficulty it takes to get rolling affects how many people use it. And yeah, I definitely agree with you. The LND API that comes out of the box, that goes a really long way. So as the Lightning Labs team is adding all these great features, they tend to support them out the box with the REST and gRPC API. And all these app developers can easily integrate those features right away. Where something like Offers or Bolt 12, which we were talking about earlier, I don't think any of the APIs that are out there for C Lightning that are made by third parties, like C Lightning REST that you make, they don't support any of those new features, right?
Yep. I'm actually working on it right now, by the way.
There we go. So look out for that, folks. Yeah, Suhaib, keep me posted. I'll add it to Zeus.
Sure.
Awesome. So yeah, there's definitely some tension between the two teams. I mean, I think overall the competition between the two teams is going to actually lead to better solutions for the consumers. We're going to get some pretty awesome experimentation in that regard because these teams they're not constrained by consensus on the chain like we are on layer one. So that's really awesome, but it's also one of the bigger challenges in this space that, the consensus on what the spec of Lightning is, it's a little funky. So we're going to see many, many more disagreements like the one we're seeing out right now. And, ultimately, these two teams are going to have to battle it out in the marketplace. So there's cons to it in that maybe not every node will support Offers out the gate like it does now. But at the same time, you can be iterating and create all these really cool solutions and parts of the protocol that not everyone has to agree with. All you need is one counterparty to agree to use Offers or whatever the next hot thing is, and you can use it. There's no waiting for the hard fork or soft fork or whatever the instance may be to activate and for it to get deployed and any of that. All you need is two counterparties who agree to a new extension to the protocol and both run compatible software on their nodes. So development on the Lightning Network, it's a bit of a gift and a curse. So we got to take the good and the bad.
I think I would point out, though, that I could be wrong about this. Hopefully, someone will correct me. But I believe the way that Rusty and company are building out Offers right now, in order to actually use Offers, yes, you obviously have to run C Lightning. But I believe if you're the other party that they're trying to get the invoice from and to pay and all that, or maybe the other side, but regardless, you don't actually need to support Offers. You could technically be running LND, because I was reading some thread between Lalu and Rusty, and there seems to be some kind of fallback built into the way that they're building out Offers. So even if one side doesn't really support what's going on, there's like a fallback measure to still make sure it works, at least for the one side that is actually running the Offers software.
Interesting.
I wish we had Rusty to verify that with, though.
I know. We'll try to definitely get him on at some point. Hopefully, we keep grinding and keep putting episodes out on a weekly basis, and we have more devs join us. It's been really awesome to have the devs and figures that have already come on join our space. So really grateful for all that and the ability to have this open discussion. Even to have like Suheb come up. It's quite an interesting new format that we've got in our hands. So lots of possibilities for fun.
I have heard that let's see, that there's something about the graph sync that works somewhat better in C Lightning. Because I know Severin from lnrouter.app, which does lots of like probing type activity and also has a pretty cool like Lightning Network graph display. Like I know he uses C Lightning, and I was curious if folks are familiar with the different tools that are available for kind of exploring the graph in C Lightning versus LND.
What are you talking about, Justifer? The only tool I use is amboss.space.
Right. Oh, thank you. I did get a notification that you might have actually purchased a subscription. Did I get that right?
Yeah, dude. And okay, apologies for not doing it sooner, but I actually did sign up for a subscription during the show, and I got my I got my ZeusLN.app Olympus node set up on Amboss. I got a custom URL. It's amboss.space/c/ZeusLN. I got my minimal channel size broadcast. I got my Twitter URL, my Telegram tag if you have a problem with the channel, our website, an email. It was really awesome, guys. The best part about the experience is once you make the payment, confetti comes down the page. It's like it just makes me feel really good. So now I'm one of your customers, and I'm gonna hold you accountable. So watch out. Awesome. I already have some feedback. I'm gonna shoot you later.
Yeah, please do. We're
absolutely.
Constantly iterating, so
you'll love to see it.
Well, we do have an announcement on that front. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chaz.
I just wanted to ask a quick question to be the kind of contrarian here. So I've been thinking about this membership thing, but like, why would I want to attach my identity to this and kind of remove my plausible deniability?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let's see. So just like claiming a node means that you as a user are proving that you have control over the node, that you have the private keys to be able to sign this message. So that tells us that you are the only one entitled to make changes to this node page that would be publicly available. And then you have the option to put additional contact information. So I think a lot of users want to just be able to coordinate activities with each other, and a big part of that is putting contact information. But it's really up to you on what type of information you want to upload. So I think maybe the most privacy preserving type of information would just be a kind of a burner email address. It's up to you if you want to add a Telegram or a Twitter or any of those other ones. But just like but for anyone you could put a blurb, and I guess that would speak for the most part. But other than that, we're not logging any of the user information or tracking them.
Don't buy it. Yeah, don't trust, verify, guys. But that all being said, you don't have to tie it to your real world identity. You're just taking control of that node. Like I'm public with, unfortunately, I mean, there's good and bad behind it, but I'm a public figure, I guess, in the space. So I'm not afraid to put my name on these things. That will probably have some bigger repercussions down the line. But for now, I'll be happy to tag my Telegram account, my real name on the account. But that doesn't mean you have to. I mean, shit, Chaz, like, I'm still 50-50 on whether that's your real name.
I think I hear that a lot, actually. But just one more thing, Justifer. So, do you guys have? I can never remember the bird's name, but do you have the? If like the government approaches you or something, do you remove this like one sentence thing from your page or something? So
Oh,
people
you're
know
thinking
that
of
you're
a
compromised?
warrant canary? A warrant canary?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not totally sure I know what that is. What's a Warren Kirk
So
canary?
basically, you say, okay, this is an arbitrary marker on our site, whether it be a page or an icon or some sort of marker on the page. And this indicates that we have not received any subpoenas from any courts or legal authority of any sort. And if you were to remove it, perchance, it would be an indication that has changed and that you did receive a subpoena or some sort of legal notice from the authorities. Perhaps it's a notice that you couldn't speak about, and this was your workaround about not speaking about it by the absence of this icon, and that would be your workaround to skirt around that. Obviously, this is not foolproof. You could be coerced in different ways if you're dealing with the authorities. But Warrant Canaries often provide some assurance to users and give them some level of comfort. Maybe it's something you guys want to integrate. I know it's not foolproof, but it could act as a powerful tool for you if you guys ever end up in a bind in that regard. But it also depends on nature of your business, the legal atmosphere. Maybe you guys get to a point where you just disclose, or you're able to disclose what kind of search requests you guys get. I don't know. So I know you guys are like really early on in your business, and you're just trying to ramp up, and you guys have this MVP product, and they're just looking at new features. But it's probably something you guys want to think about. I know Lightning Network is very nascent, but I think things are going to ramp up pretty quickly, especially with all the rumblings we've been hearing on a lot of different fronts.
I think you're right.
So
I appreciate.
I don't want to.
We'll think about it a lot,
guys. But yeah, it's probably would be wiser to start thinking about that stuff sooner than later.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the data that we have is, public information just from participating in the Lightning Network, and then whatever users actually give to us. And as part of the privacy policy, we're happy to remove any of the data that users hand to us, or other data out there. A big impetus for that was like on 1ML, it will show all of the previous IP addresses that a node has had. So like nodes that start up and they're on ClearNet and then move to Tor, well, it still shows their ClearNet IP. And we definitely wanted to get away from that, where it's just publicly displaying like the whole history of all the IPs that your node has shown. So yeah, definitely want to make a really private experience. It's like one of the goals of the whole project. And yeah, we're super new, like 2.5 months maybe that we've been live.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to see this site evolve, and you guys have an incredible interface right now, and the experience gets a little bit better every week. So best of luck. And to those who haven't checked it out, go on amboss.space. That's AMBOSS.space in your web browser, and go check out their awesome Lightning Graph Explorer.
Thanks for advertising for me. And let's see, the announcement this week is we just added some centrality information from Ellen Node Insight, who is helping us get that data. So if you want to check out your rank and your score from centrality measures, go check that out.
Cool. So like how central you are in the network, like how's that calculated? Is it like by how many peers you're connected to, or the mix of the number of peers and the liquidity? Like, I wonder how's that measurement work?
Yeah, there's 3 different measures of it. And so we're getting that information from LN Node Insight. And so the small whirl LND might have a little bit more information on those centrality measures, but also you can hover your mouse over those different centrality measures and get some additional information about them.
Awesome. Is that going to be included in the historical data too? Like, will I be able to see my centrality change over time?
That's let's see, we just added the ranks there, but that'll be something good for the future. We don't have it quite yet.
Cool.
So centrality is a good metric from a routing perspective, right? The more central you are, the more chances or more middle you are in the network, and which means that you have higher chances of routing transactions. So yeah, of course, seeing that as a trend over a period of time definitely is insightful. So you can actually see, how your node's position is changing with respect to the network over a period of time. That definitely is a good insight.
Excellent. Yeah, so we've got betweenness rank, hopness rank, and hubness rank.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's good.
I think the betweenness one is the one that most people think of, and so that's the rank based on how often this node is on the shortest path between any 2 nodes on the network.
Right. So this kind of relates to your point about the network graph that you were making earlier, right? Although I think you were comparing different implementations with respect to the performance of the graph syncing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So just one point on that, basically, if you are running LND, you can actually take a complete dump of the graph, and you can, if you are familiar with data analysis and, if you can understand unstructured graphs, then you can do your own data analysis on that graph. But C-Lightning or Eclair, I don't think are giving that dump of the graph. So that's one thing which is unique about LND, that it is actually giving you access to the complete graph data as well.
Awesome. Thanks for shedding some light on that. Let's see what else we got on the agenda, Evan.
All right, we'll kick it off again. Let's see. Oh yeah, you went on BTC Kindergarten this week. You want to talk about that? It looked like a newbie tutorial for getting set up on Raspberry Blitz.
Sure. Yeah. I did a presentation. So I've got all these slides, and I set up a Raspberry Blitz just so people aren't afraid to actually set up a Raspberry Blitz machine themselves. I know a lot of people choose Umbrel because it has a beautiful interface, but then they kind of learn a bit about how their configuration file might change, or some of the license restrictions that are on Umbrel that might make them want to choose Raspberry Blitz implementation instead. So I kind of just go through every single step, constructing the thing to flashing the SD card to actually choosing some services to run on the Raspberry Blitz. And then I'll make those slides available, like PowerPoint or like on a PDF.
Cool. That's pretty sweet. I love Raspberry Blitz. It's probably my favorite implementation of pre-built node platform. So that's really cool. Should check that out. Sweet. So yeah, guys should check out BTC Kindergarten. I think that's a really awesome platform for newbies, especially. They break it down to the basics. Who runs it? It's Nick Can't Mine, and who else?
At My Live in Truth.
Oh, My Live in Truth.
Weinicus.
And who?
Yeah, those are the Weinicus.
Oh, yeah, I
he's,
know him too.
in one of the
incredible plebs. What a crew. Yeah, so check that
Yeah,
out, guys. That's BTC at BTC Kindergarten on Twitter.
And yeah, for noobs that have for questions, there's a whole bunch of Bitcoiners in there just ready to answer those curiosities that you might have.
Sweet. That's what we need. I think we need more sort of base level, really approachable content like that. Almost like explain it like I'm 5. Like, let's get to the real basics and tell me what I need to know so I could get rolling with things. And
yeah, I think Surfer Jim is like one of my favorite people because he can just take it down to the most basic level and explain why you might be motivated to do these different things and to kind of exit the system that has been taken advantage of.
Yeah, Jim rules. Like, super humble guy, and he's not afraid to ask like even the most basic questions. He'll have like pause you and be like, hey, hold up, wait. What do you mean? And he has like, he's not shy about, revealing how little he knows or whatever. Like, he's genuinely thirsty for knowledge. Well, I shouldn't have said thirsty because now he's going to think I'm making fun of him with the thirst jokes. But Jim, I love you, man. Sweet. So BTC Kindergarten, check that out. Let's see what other topics we got for today. We also have another educational thing that you guys might want to check out is through the Bitcoin Design Group. They have a weekly sync where they read through the brand new Mastering Lightning book. It hasn't been published yet, but it's all on GitHub. It's written by Rose Beef, aka Lalu from Lightning Labs, Rene Picard, who's an independent researcher. He's been doing a lot of awesome stuff about optimizing routing. And some other guy, I forget his name. But anyway, you guys should check it out. Bitcoin.design is the website. If you join their Slack channel, you can get a link for their sessions. I think it's every Thursday. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick for you. But anyway, great way to learn about Lightning, bounce questions off each other. It gets really deep into the protocol, but you'll be doing it with, a lot of other newbies. So, you could join and feel free to ask any questions. And it seems to be going pretty well. Yeah, it seems like they do it on Wednesdays. So be sure to check that out. All right, let's see what else we got for today. We got a couple of questions you put here together. State of the Lightning Network. We sort of covered that. Was there anything else you want to add, Justifer?
Let's see. Yeah, we can go through those questions. But actually, do we have any questions from the audience or anybody that wants to come up and ask some questions? Newbie questions about the Lightning Network or more advanced ones if you want, and we might be able to find an expert here in the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we like to have a lot of like pretty crazy guests on board, but don't be shy. We are friendly to the plebs, the noobs, anyone who is just getting started, may have not even run the Lightning. We got our bunny Vivek, aka Seared Salmon. V, you there?
Yeah, what's up? I was curious about, I guess if we can expand on LDK. I think that's another cool implementation. I don't know whether it's like fully implemented with the Bolt specs or whatever, but the Blue Wallet stuff they put out was extremely cool. So wanted to know, like, out of the devs here, maybe someone got their feet wet or like what they think, particular trade-offs that make it better at certain things. I hear hardware is usually mentioned. So yeah.
Yeah, sure thing. So LDK is also known as Rust Lightning. This is a implementation of Lightning, similar to LND or C Lightning or Eclair, but it is written with the efficiencies of Rust. Rust is also really good for exporting to different languages through bindings. So they might write it in Rust, but you could export the code to like Java or to C. And very recently, they have created JavaScript React Native bindings, and this has facilitated its implementation in Blue Wallet. So Blue Wallet is going to pretty soon, at least from my understanding, going to be phasing out their custodial node. So you're not going to be able to just hop on, create a custodial account, and send stuff. So they're transitioning to a non-custodial model using this LDK, and it runs right in the app. If you're really daring, you can go onto their GitHub page. You can go find their PR that they have open for LDK. It might be under RN-LDK. And if you go into the thread, you can go see some binaries are there for download. So, as long as you're comfortable taking the risk with it, you can go and test it out today. But there are some big trade-offs that you make when you go from being custodial to non-custodial. So all of a sudden, you're responsible for your keys, and you're also responsible for your liquidity. So when you initially create a node on this new platform, you have to create channels. You got to either get incoming liquidity from someone else, or you got to open a channel to another party and start spending some of it to be able to receive. So what I've heard is it's incredibly performant so far, despite needing some bugs to be ironed out. I'm very confident that later this year it'll be in pretty good shape. Once like all the backup systems are ironed out, I think you're gonna have like a really awesome option for running your own node on your device. This is also comes with some other trade-offs. So since your node is not going to be on 24/7, you're going to want to periodically open that wallet up to make sure your channels do not close. You also are not going to be able to like route payments on a node like this, but it's really awesome that the Blue Wallet team and Matt Corallo over at Square Crypto, who is like the lead maintainer of this project, are like thinking about this and are conscious of facilitating that shift from the custodial to the non-custodial side of Lightning. And there's going to be some challenges. They're going to probably want to create some sort of solution to get liquidity to their users, but I think they'll come up with a pretty good balanced solution. So excited to see how that plays out, but LDK is definitely promising. And it's not even just for like lightweight clients like you might see in a Blue Wallet, but the way that it's architected is that you really are more responsible for the different components of the implementation. Like it'll give you the tools to do things like, going and finding your peers and making the signing, right? But you got to sort of plug everything together. Like you got to pop in your own database and make it work. It's not like LND where you like pop in a config file and hit start and it's just off to the races. Like you sort of have to put things together. But the way it's written with Rust, you're going to get some really awesome performance, and you might end up seeing this implementation being used on some backends for some big services because of the efficiencies it could bring and the flexibility you have with it. So, it's taken some time for people to start integrating it because of all those missing parts, right? That it doesn't offer everything out the box, but I foresee a really, really bright future for LDK, and I'm really excited to see where they take it next.
So have you gotten to use LDK for Zeus and the stuff that you're working on?
So I have not. I've messed around just a little bit with the Blue Wallet Alpha. With some mixed results. It's still a little buggy, so I wouldn't really recommend anyone trying to run anything too serious with it or use a sizable amount of funds. But I see it coming together, and I think it's going to be really awesome in a few months when it's ready for prime time. As far as Zeus, my priorities as they stand right now is get this redesign out with full coin control. That's going to include channel opens and on-chain transactions initiated from cold storage, which is going to be pretty sweet. I think it also addresses the biggest issues with Zeus, which is the UTXO privacy. You have to more so do a lot of that with, managing your addresses or doing some CLI stuff. So hopefully we make that a smoother experience. But anyway, once we release the new redesign in the fall, then I'll be looking at light client options. LDK is certainly a promising option, but I also may end up going with a neutrino version of LND. So maybe fetch the blocks from somewhere else or let someone connect to their own Bitcoin host at home. But I'm not sure. I really do not want to be hosting instances for people. LDK still has that same problem too. Like, you're not fetching the blocks on your own instance. So I really need to take a lot of that into consideration. But that being said, I definitely want more users to be able to run their own nodes off of their own phone. I just want to make sure that focus is on non-custodial options. And you could sort of do that today, right now, if you have an Android phone and you use something like Nayuta Core. You'll spin up a neutrino node on your phone directly, and they make it super easy to connect to Zeus. But I'm thinking of taking it to the next level and building the actual node itself into Zeus. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, we got a whole bunch of work ahead of us before we get to that. We probably need another 2, maybe 3 months tops of dev work to finish the redesign stuff. But it's coming together, and I think at least from the UI perspective, it's a great leap forward. So pretty stoked about that. While we're on the topic, we have a weekly sync for reviewing the redesign. That is on Wednesdays at 8:45 a.m. Everyone is open to join. That's through the Bitcoin Design Group. So we got a whole bunch of designers there that are helping out with that effort, taking the charge. We got a dedicated designer for branding, dedicated designer for the website, and a dedicated designer for the app itself. And everyone is welcome to go check out the designs that are open on Figma and join our meetings and give us feedback. And we're hoping that sometime in August, we'll have a open alpha so that people can download the app. Might not be fully featured with all the new stuff we want to release with, but we're going to need some feedback real soon. So encourage you guys to check that out. So Wednesdays, 8:45 is the design meeting. And we're also going to be kicking off dev focus meetings on Tuesday at the same time slot, at least for now.
And that's East Coast time?
Yeah, East Coast time. Thanks for asking. We'll probably include one of those anytime links so you could figure out what that is in your time zone if you don't want to do the math. But yeah, I'm going to be leading that. We also have a new developer Slack. A lot of users are probably on our Telegram, but we now have a developer-focused Slack where you can go and ask questions. You can hit me up. I'll help you get set up with your dev environment, bounce ideas off each other. And it's not super active right now, but we're building a small little core of devs that are working on it. We got, I'd say, 5 or 6 people sinking their teeth into different parts of the redesign efforts, which is pretty awesome to see. And, it's just about prime time to start syncing on a weekly basis. And trying to divvy up some of that work to try to speed this up and get a new working product out to the Bitcoin community. So I'm really excited about it, and things are going really well. This week, we've been ironing out some LNURL work, LNURL off. So now you're going to be able to sign messages and log in with not only just LND, but C Lightning REST and Eclair instances. Super exciting. That's just all in testing right now. We have also been doing some work on channels. So the new channels interface, at least the general overview, maybe not the open channel and connect peer screen. Those are all integrated, at least from a design perspective. I got to just do some wiring to make sure it all works. And beyond coin control stuff, it's really just a lot of single screen views that we got to touch up. So things are coming together, and I'm really excited to be able to share that with y'all really soon. So stay tuned.
That's super exciting. So, okay, UTXO management.
Yeah.
You get a new view of the channels. You'll be able to sign messages with whichever implementation. Those, those are all huge improvements. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm excited. I think the design and the UTXO stuff are definitely the biggest pitfalls in Zeus right now. Like, one, it's ugly and it's a little confusing to use, and two, you don't have the full privacy controls, at least, that you should. And now, if you combine that together with the ability to open up your channels from an external wallet, it's going to get really crazy. So right now, the focus is on 3 wallets right now. We got the Foundation Passport, which is sort of a cold card fork, but with a camera and sort of new form factor in a sort of a cell phone, which is pretty interesting. We got the Keystone, which is out of Hong Kong, a really awesome Android OS based wallet, but no other way to connect other than with these cameras and QR codes. Highly recommend this one. Used to be the Kobo, but they've rebranded and left their old company, and they've made a new device that has some pretty cool improvements, including improved SD card location if you are using that. Really cool. And then my newest toy is the Spectre DIY, which is a build-it-yourself hardware wallet. You get the board, you get the QR code scanner, you could 3D print the case. No battery, at least with my unit, but I suppose you could build in a battery. And, with some pretty commonly available boards and components, you can make your own hardware wallet. And I'm not sure if they were going to support multi-sig signing out the gate, but we should be able to fairly soon. So that's going to be exciting. Let's say you have a 2 of 3 multi-sig and you want to open up the channel with it. You should be able to, scan the QR codes and build this partially signed Bitcoin transaction until it's finalized and then broadcast it. So I think that's going to be a real game changer too. And from there, let's see. Perhaps we'll have other wallets, maybe software wallets that you can import stuff from and sign with. I think it would be really cool if you can craft transactions that you had perhaps in your Samurai Whirlpool or from your Join Market to put right into Lightning. That would be very rad, I think. And then for some other wallets that perhaps don't have that QR code scanning functionality, maybe have some read-only functionality, I think that's going to come alongside with the account imports. And then from there, it'll be time to add NFC, which sounds like the new Cold Card Mark IV is going to have. And basically the idea is exactly the same as having that air-gapped account import and PSBT signing. But instead of using cameras and QR codes, you use NFC, which is the tap-to-touch functionality that you'll see at many POS stations across the United States and Europe and across the world, where you just tap your credit card or your phone to a surface and it will pull your payment. The only difference is that since we're using push technology, you'll tap your phone to load up the invoice, whether it be a Bitcoin address or a Lightning payment request, and then you'll confirm it on your phone instead of it just pulling your credit card number and making the payment on the terminal. So just a little bit of a different of a flow.
So would this be LNURL for this this phone tapping type thing, or is this? I guess this might be offers in the future.
Justifer, it could be whatever you want. It's going to support on-chain addresses, Lightning addresses, whether it be Bolt 11 or Bolt 12, and LNURL, whatever it may be. Zeus is going to be able to broadcast it however you create it. Although, the LNURL stuff, you're probably not going to be able to create in Zeus, at least not out the gate for a while. But yeah, like something like an offer, you'll be able to create an offer on your phone in Zeus and send it to another user. And they'll be able to just tap phones with you as long as you have the NFC enabled on your phone and load it up. And there you go. No more broadcasting your QR code. So in some ways, it's a bit of a better precaution from a privacy perspective. If someone was snooping from far away with a big camera, can't read it. You got to be, less than an inch away.
Evan, you're talking like you can just build whatever you want on this technology. Like you don't have to ask permission to anyone.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I mean,
he has the support.
we're gonna do it. Like I'm telling you, the NFC stuff is gonna be trivial. Like I know the library I'm gonna use. Once the coin control is done for the redesign, the NFC is gonna be like a 2-hour experiment. It's gonna be so awesome. I think it's going to take more time to just figure out what the constraints are as far as the user experience are and how to build into the UI and, convey that to the user and, getting other wallets on board. Like, why don't we all do this? Like, why doesn't Blue Wallet do it? Why doesn't Samurai do it? Why doesn't this become the standard? We want to have it built into all these different wallets so that whenever Square is ready to launch their Bitcoin-enabled terminal, you can make NFC payments with Bitcoin or Lightning. Why not?
Vivek over here is just losing control with all these emojis flying off.
Yeah, dude, like that NFC stuff is wild, and Evan knows the Samurai guys too, so he knows they've been like eager to figure out a way that they can dump Doxic change into some sort of LN payment while keeping their privacy trade-offs. So I don't know. I'm like so stoked to see what Evan puts out.
Yeah, I mean the Doxic change is sort of a different can of worms, but we'll get there too. I think Schnorr is going to help us go a long way, but I think a lot of that stuff is going to take some on-chain protocol enhancement. But so things are ramping up from what we're hearing in the United States and in this proposed bill that everyone's murmuring about. We're going to have to step our game up another level.
So why would you want to open a channel with your Doxic change?
So your Doxic change has is associated with your original UTXOs that you were trying to mix in the first place. So at least as how it works in Samurai is that you have your pools of a fixed size, and you have a UTXO of a certain size, and you fit it into those boxes as many times as you can, and whatever doesn't fit into those boxes, into those fixed sizes, is left on the side as Doxic change. And if you look at that UTXO, you know where it originally came from. And if you spend that, it's associated with that UTXO in its original unmixed state, and it could unravel your entire privacy. So there's a big challenge in like, okay, we've got these small amounts. What are we going to do with them? How do we make sense of them? And people have been sort of taking these different approaches as to, what the best thing to do is. So you definitely don't want to combine them with other bits of Doxic change. because then you're going to associate those unmixed outputs that you wanted to conceal in the first place with each other. And now it's recorded forever on the blockchain, so that's a problem. So they've been sort of thinking that, okay, perhaps Lightning could be a good solution, but you know, you got to be able to get those into, you know, a channel somehow. So I think once something like L2 is out, maybe we can get a little creative with it. When your channel commitments and which UTXOs are backing a channel can change, I think then we can have some fun with it. But until then, we shouldn't delude ourselves into thinking it's practical nowadays. So yeah, that team over there, they're focusing on doing some atomic swaps with Monero, which, you know, has its downsides for sure, but you know, at least they're trying something different. I'm not sure I'll be using that method, but you know, these guys are really focused on privacy, so you got to at least commend them for trying something. I
Chaz,
do,
you want to
however,
jump in on this?
What was that?
go for it.
Okay, so where I was gonna go was, it's like, I remember probably 2 years ago, like right after I started the podcast, I remember messaging like TevD or TD, whatever, I can't remember his name right now, but the main guy from Samurai Wallet.
T-Dev, Samurai Dev.
T-Dev, yes. Yeah. And, you know, I was trying to just, I was kind of naive on, you know, their position on things. And he basically said, you know, until this thing is basically Monero in so many words, we're not going to touch Lightning. You know, we're going to basically not touch it. And my naive sense still is like, we need a Samurai wallet for the Lightning Network that does all these specialized tricks that Samurai has in their wallet, all the little, you know, things in their toolbox. Like, is Zeus going to be that toolbox? Because Samurai has basically said, you know, we don't give a shit about Lightning right now. We're focused on privacy, not your, you know, your bullshit click or whatever the hell, you know, they talk about sometimes. So do you think Zeus is going to be that? Do you think someone else is going to step up to be the super privacy Lightning wallet? Is Samurai going to come through in a couple years and be like, oh, it's private, it's kind of private now, so you might as well start adding our shit on top? You know, what do you guys think?
It's going to be a combination of things. So obviously, as the app developer, I want to provide as many tools for the user to help them be able to manage their U2XOs and to remain private on Lightning in the ways that they can. However, a lot of the things that we really need to have a pretty ironclad, and I say pretty ironclad because nothing is 100% ironclad. I think a lot of changes are going to have to come to the protocol level. And, you know, we're not there yet. That's for sure. There's definitely a lot of problems with Lightning as far as privacy goes today. I wouldn't say, you know, it's an absolute problem. I think there's ways that you can be very careful and use it in a private manner, but you're still, you know, dependent on your counterparties, and there's a lot of inconvenience involved. But when I see something like, you know, trampoline payments and rendezvous payments and blinded paths, which is the blinded paths are in the Bolt 12 spec, I'm really encouraged. We have some of the greatest minds in computer science working on these issues right now. And Lightning Network, as it is today, is definitely a couple steps better than it was in 2020. You know, it was definitely better than it was in 2019 and 2018. And I think that it's going to continue to improve year after year with this innovation. And, you know, I was saying earlier, we have a lot of challenges in getting consensus between these implementations and finalizing a spec. And I think that that's going to always persist as long as we're still building upon this thing. You know, there's always going to be a little bit of tension between Eclair and, Lightning Labs and Blockstream especially. However, it creates a bit of a fire amongst the developers and a level of competition that is going to really empower all of us. And I think, despite there being these big trade-offs and problems and, potential for different nodes to not support all of the same things, I think that the innovation that this model enables is going to be extraordinary, because you're not just testing things theoretically or using them on a local reg test network or just deploying to test nets. Like, no, if you want a feature and you want to test it out, all you need are two counterparties, right? Two parties to agree upon the spec, to add it to their implementation, and you can deploy it on Lightning today. There's no waiting on how are we going to activate this? How are we going to flag? How are we going to signal it? We have none of those constraints, and we're taking full advantage of that. If you have a good idea and you can code it up and you can agree, you can get your buddy to agree to running it and testing it out, you can test it out with real Bitcoin on the Lightning Network tomorrow. And that's incredible.
So maybe that's a good question that I've kind of heard around the Lightning Network spaces, is that how do people start developing on Lightning? Like, maybe they don't quite know how to code, but like, where do you even start? Because there's so many different languages that Lightning is already written in. Do people start at the application level? Like, do they try and participate in the protocol discussions? Where do people even begin?
So I think there's definitely a huge difference between application and protocol development, and I think that has to be acknowledged. There's definitely much more room for error when you're building an app. Of course, if that app is dealing with a lot of money, you still have a lot of responsibility. But there's added complexity when dealing with protocols, because you got to make sure everything is in lockstep. Otherwise, failures are inevitably catastrophic. So there's different levels to it. I think if you're a newbie, it's much easier to get involved on an application level, but that doesn't have to be the path you go on. I think it's a combination of things. Like, you need to have somewhat of a foundation of an understanding of, computer science and an understanding of, how privacy works and how contextual it can get. But yeah, there's so many resources to get into the game. There's mailing lists, there's chats, there's Slack channels, there's GitHub discussions. Anyone could sign up on GitHub and start filing issues and start talking to the devs of these projects. Whether it be a bug that you find while running it or you have an idea, is obviously, if it's bullshit, you're gonna get the appropriate response. But if your idea has merit, it's gonna get some people looking at it, because these people, they're just incentivized to make the best possible product for all of us. So it's a meritocracy in a lot of ways. But even if you're not, offering up some genius proposal that's protocol improvement, there's tons of resources now, and accommodating and welcome and friendly people in the community that you can go and talk to, and they'll point you to more resources and people who are willing to sit down and mentor you and just teach and try to grow our ranks. It's pretty amazing. And I think that's part of what I'm trying to do with Zeus, and from that app perspective, is I want to try to have as many resources available to people, and to try to develop things in an open manner. That's why I want to do, we have the design calls that are open. I want to have the developer calls open. We have the Slack channels. Anyone could open up discussions on GitHub. it's all part of the open source experience. So all you have to really do is be willing to learn, willing to put in the time, and willing to put yourself out there. And that doesn't even have to be with your real name. You don't have to be an idiot and say, "Oh, hey, my name's Evan Kaludis." You could say, "Hey, I don't know, I'm the Chaz, and I'm here to learn." And even if you're not developing, you can have a real impact on the way things are going.
So I wanted to jump in with a non-programmer's perspective. I'm sorry, Sahib, that I'm jumping in there, but I just wanted to kind of answer Justifer's question in a kind of more direct way. So, I think the best way to get started is to go find a problem and fall in love with it. So I don't think you need to know jack shit about computer science. I mean, obviously you have to as you go on, but as a starting place, I think getting inspired is the first step. Everything else can come after that. But I think you need a foundation for your conviction. So obviously Bitcoiners, are convicted about, I'm going to use this in my life. I'm going to, help bring this to the world, what have you. But then on the other side, where it's your turn to be like, well, now I need to add back on my side. So I think the best thing you can do in that regard is to find a particular problem, a particular, part of the ecosystem that you feel like you can really add something back, or even not. Maybe you think you can't add anything, throw yourself at the problem anyway, and maybe you can come up with some novel solutions or some novel thoughts that the people actively working on it would have never thought of, because naive thoughts, tend to have a kernel of truth in them. And sometimes when you get really deep into something, you can't think from that kind of starters or naive mindset anymore. So I think starting from that inspiration is the real starting point. Maybe your thing is Lightning Network privacy, so you're gonna go do a deep dive on that, and then just pick up your programming skills along the way. I don't think you even need to have that. And I think having the project first will propel you through learning how to code. And when you kind of reach that ceiling of, oh God, this sucks, you're going to be like, but I really am inspired and I really want to, help with Lightning Network privacy and contribute. And so you can kind of more likely to overcome that roadblock.
Right. So
That falls. Oh yeah, go ahead, Suhaib.
Yeah, what I was saying is basically what Chaz is saying is scratch your own itch, right? You think there is a problem, instead of looking at somebody to solve it for you, why don't you try to solve it yourselves, right? That actually creates a good motivation to, learn the tools that you need to, or if you already know, you're familiar with the tools, then just apply them, right? So that's one approach. But I actually wanted to make a point about, protocol development vis-a-vis app development, what, Evan was weighing in on. So basically, like Evan said, protocol development is difficult, right? Or, contributing directly to the core of any of the implementations is definitely difficult. But the starting point ideally would be to, understand the protocol first. So luckily for Lightning, the resources are actually in a much better shape, where if you want to actually start from the scratch to learn about the protocol, you can. So, you can start with the bold specs, right? Or you can go to the Chain Code Labs repository, where they have actually a lot of structured content to, read through or go through to learn about Lightning, in terms of its nuts and bolts. And additionally, you can actually look at the LN book, which Andreas is writing. That is actually a good resource to understand the technicalities of Lightning protocol, right? If you want to actually contribute at that level. Whereas if you want to contribute at the app level, then actually it's much easier. But what we need to understand is that from a operational perspective, how Lightning works, and then figure out what problem you want to focus on, and then apply your programming tools to solve that problem. So basically, these are some of the approaches that you can take to contribute to the overall space.
That's a great idea. Okay, so Evan mentioned creating a GitHub account and starting issues, and maybe the easiest way to do that would be to actually start proofreading the Lightning Network, the Mastering Lightning Network book, which is on GitHub. You could read the entire thing, and also proofread it or make edits or create issues. You might even get a chance to create your own pull request, which might get merged. So you would be actually changing the way that the book is written, while also learning about the Lightning Network at the same time. You mentioned the bolt specs, and so those are kind of the way that the protocol interoperates, or these are the standards.
Yeah, so bolt specs is basically defining how the protocol should operate overall, right? So bolt specs is pseudocode of how the protocol works, and you can actually write your own Lightning implementation if you want to. Just follow the bolt specs and write the whole Lightning implementation in whatever language you want to, right? So essentially, Lightning Labs is a Go implementation of the bolt specs. See, Lightning is a C implementation of bolt specs. Eclair is a Scala implementation of bolt specs. So basically, as long as you are implementing those bolt specs, you are creating a Lightning implementation which will interoperate, right? So Eclair will talk to C Lightning will talk to LND. So as long as you are implementing bolt specs, you will ensure that your Lightning implementation is interoperable.
That's awesome. What a good way to start, because I'm just watching, PlebNet, and it's really taking off. I got to see Mads, as well as like Aaron Malone on a couple of different Lightning Network shows that were popping up, and just like speaking about how excited they were about PlebNet's getting started. And I saw a wiki pop up. So I've definitely been watching this like just in time learning. So as soon as people are running into issues, they're like, okay, well, like, how do I fix this issue? Or what does this error message mean? And then diving a little bit deeper into like how this whole network fits together and what their role is in it.
Yeah, that's very interesting to watch, right? You can now see the overall adoption of the Lightning maturing, right? We can see the experts kind of popping up now who are, becoming more and more familiar, more and more comfortable with Lightning, and they are sharing what they're learning. So it's a great network effect. You can actually see it in motion, Lightning adoption.
And I think you bring up a very good point in regards to like PlebNet and Rings of Fire and such. That, I mean, obviously those things probably involve some level of coding or whatever, but I think the idea started from a very non-technical place of just wanting to bootstrap and wanting to kind of just add back something. Not to toot my own horn too much, but like I started my podcast on the concept of wanting to improve and learn and trying to find a better place for myself within Bitcoin land and Lightning land, what have you. And I think it's not always easy for people. They always, maybe I'm just projecting here, but I think it's not easy for people to assume that they can actually contribute. It's like, oh man, these guys are geniuses. They have some kind of gift that I lack or something. But it's not true. Anyone, anywhere pretty much can add something to Bitcoin and to the Lightning Network. It doesn't need to be coding. It doesn't need to be anything. It could be just looking at ideas, trying to figure out, any kind of things. Like I would have never thought about this kind of onboarding community group that would do these things. I thought I just had to yell at people for them to like give me inbound channels or whatever, and that was going to be my way of surviving. But there's so many problems out there. We have a lot of creative people on the planet. We just need to get their foot in the door, onboard them, and then I think the same thing that happened to all of us would happen to them. They're going to be like, cool, Bitcoin's cool, Lightning's cool, gimme. And after a while of getting all this value and getting, seeing the vision and the future that many of us do, that you just can't help but want to give back and want to add something to this community, non-community, whatever people want to argue about that point, but to add back to what we have here. And I think, being as open about what you can do as possible is great. Like, if you had asked me in like 2016, hey, do you think you're going to have a podcast where you're talking to experts in Lightning Network and, you know, people you thought you would never talk to? Absolutely not. So you got to be open with where your place could be. It could be coding, it could be doing design, or it could be doing a combination, or it could be doing none of those things. It could be being a community leader, what have you. So not to go too far into this area, but I definitely feel like that's, not focusing on being a coder is okay. Designing is okay. Any number of things is okay. Just put your foot in and see what happens.
100%. Just want to echo all those sentiments. I don't think people really building stuff like me. I don't think I'm smarter than anyone else. I'm just willing to put my head down and bang it on the desk and keep working on the same problem and keep improving one day at a time. You really gotta, like Chad said, be in love with a problem and be willing to put the time in. And as long as you do that and put the hard work in, you can make it happen. The resources are all out there. We live in an incredible era, the information era. This is unprecedented. Like, when did you have access to all these incredible different people in your hand, like on one of these devices, and be able to communicate with them like this? This is incredible. So take advantage of the opportunity, and don't be shy and put yourself out there. So are you guys down for another audience question? I got Juan Lemus. I don't know. It's been waiting.
Yeah, please.
Let's see if he's still around. All right. Juan, are you there, Juan? Hello, Juan. All right, Juan, sorry for having you wait for so long, but if there's a pause, feel free to interject, and we'll get around to your question too. Yes, sorry for making you wait too long. We really went down a rabbit hole there. All right, so anyone else who wants to get on stage, they're free to do so, but we got a couple other topics we could get into. Just what do you have here about disposable nodes? I think this is a really fun topic. It really ties into the privacy rabbit hole, and I love that.
Yeah. I got to ask Matt Odell the other day about what he thought. Well, I mean, I think of him as sort of a very privacy-focused, maybe privacy expert in the Bitcoin realm. Mm-hmm. And I was curious what he thought about the Lightning Network being very reputation driven, because like on Amboss and whatnot, like we've got kind of the history of the node. You can, or on any Lightning Network Explorer, really, like you can kind of watch their growth over time, and see what they've done in the past. But that kind of means that you're getting a reputation on the Lightning Network, because that history follows you. So in the interest of kind of balancing that out and making privacy a real thing on the Lightning Network, what would it mean to have disposable nodes, or where would that fit into the Lightning Network? So something that you could just spin up, maybe in a couple of minutes, ideally, be able to get some channels or start those out, and then immediately participate in the Lightning Network, maybe within half an hour to an hour's time.
So this is really interesting part of the Lightning Network. I think we touched on some of the issues with having a node with a single pub key when you were detailing how 1ML works and how it details all the previous IPs that a public key has been seen from. I think that's like a really tricky part of the privacy on the network, and something to keep in mind. Like, if you really want to start with a clean slate on Lightning, you sort of got to have a new pub key. So what I'm thinking is, ideally, these node implementations have a way to spin up these disposable identities of sorts without having to create a new instance and plug in a new key and record it and, set it up with a new Tor onion address right out the gate. There's a lot of challenges to this, and there's a lot of questions like, would you be able to use channels from other identities in some way? I think that's still unclear to me. I think it would be difficult, but could potentially be promising. But yeah, I think people are thinking about it, but we really haven't seen anyone scratch the surface as far as implementations go. How do you sort of foresee this looking like, Justifer?
So I was thinking about it. Like, one of the restrictions is, like, am I going to use my own hardware for this? Would I have to spin up a new Raspberry Pi? For example, just I made a new Raspberry Pi the other day for that tutorial, and I think it took me about an afternoon, because just copying the blockchain takes about 2 hours if I already have one. But syncing a new one, that's going to be probably 6 days or so, and it might even be longer over Tor. So I'm thinking that, like, a disposable node, that would probably be a cloud hosted node, just for this, like, use case where I could spin it up immediately and then, like, put it to work with a couple of channels, and then like shut the node down. But looking at it from, like, liquidity wise, like, okay, who would want to supply liquidity to this disposable node because they have no history? So what would it take, from an established player to actually want to connect to this person? Like, what's the incentive there?
So 2 things. I think having to set it up on the cloud, I don't think that's going to be necessary. And I think we even alluded to this earlier this episode, where Raspberry Blitz themselves are having it so that you could spin up multiple implementations on the same node. I mean, you already have the blockchain required to spin up a node on that device. If the footprint of it from a RAM and CPU perspective is low enough, you could just run the second node on that box with its own Tor host, right? But
so you're saying just create a new wallet on the thing?
Perhaps. I mean, I would like there for a way to just be able to, use the same seed and you just use another derivation path, or keep going down the row. However, it is a little tricky with how the Lightning wallets are generated today. Every seed has 6 actual wallets associated with that got created. So there's some more complexity there, and it's not super straightforward. But ideally, we will find a way to not have to use a new seed. But I think you touched on the bigger issues, the liquidity. Like, how does that happen? Like, just creating private channels to yourself from your public node, let's say, is not going to do it. If who you're trying to send to is noticing that, your public identity is doing all the routing for this other node. So I feel like there has to be almost an out of band sort of communication layer for people to, or friends rather, to provide liquidity to friends' secondary identities. I don't know. I really don't know. I know that it's a very difficult problem from that perspective, and from thinking about privacy from a graph. But I am, like I am with other enhancements on LN, I think it's definitely possible, and I think it just needs some time to be explored.
Excellent. And Jazz, did you want to weigh in on your thoughts on this?
Sure. So
Would it disposable?
yeah, I don't have much on the tech side of things, so I'm not going to try. But I think the way that I'm thinking about it, like just the semantics of the idea, is that I don't think I would want to spin up another node. Maybe this is naive of me, but I would want to have different aliases on the same node. So like virtual pub keys, basically. I'm not sure if that's even a coherent concept, but like something like that.
Oh, hell yeah, it is. It is definitely a coherent concept. It's just like, how do we technically do it with the way things are set up today? It's a little tricky. We've got some tech debt with how we create instances right now, but I think it's going to come. I think a lot of smart guys are thinking about it. I definitely know that it's on Lalu's mind over at Lightning Labs. Whether it's really a priority right now I don't think it's the case. I think there's a lot of other issues going on, especially with the actual invoice specs sort of being fought over right now. But I think in the next couple of years, I think we're going to find some really interesting solutions. I think we've already got a taste of it, albeit this is with the help of a third party. I think Moon has somewhat disposable public keys from when you're sending and receiving payments. So we're seeing it implemented from that perspective. But, I think we're all people who care very much about self-sovereignty and privacy. And we want to see it just built into these implementations so that a single node operator can be able to spin up these identities and just toss them really quickly. We want Justifer and Tony over at Amboss to be like, damn, we're seeing all these identities and people are just using them for a day and throwing them away. We've got so much data that we've just seen. And just contribute to the noise of the public graph. I think that would be really sweet. But, like I said, it seems like it's a couple of years off, but I think it's in the back of a lot of people's minds. And I think it makes sense in a whole bunch of ways, despite the actual technicals and a lot of the bulk of the issues being the liquidity sort of need to be ironed out. So let's see. Just keep your eyes peeled. It'll happen.
It's hilarious watching the aliases change on some of these nodes. I watched one of them switch to Amazon.com as their node alias. However, the public key for the node doesn't change. So we're able to display the alias name changes in like the node color changes as they kind of switch their alias identity, but the node identity is tied to that public key.
That's pretty funny. Do you guys show that historically? Like, can someone see that ZeusLN.app change their alias to IRS surveillance node or something?
Oh yeah, you would be able to see that. So yeah, you could probably search Amazon.com.
Okay, I'm gonna do that right now
on Amboss and then and see the history.
That's excellent. All right, let's do that right now. Yeah, I mean, that's how the gossip network works. I mean, the state is going to change over time, but an observer who's been listening over time and perhaps recording what they hear, like an Amboss or whatever, they would be able to see what else you've been broadcast as, what your capacity has looked like, or at least your publicly broadcast capacity has looked like over time, what IPs you've been seen on. Oh man, look, node info changes, right? Okay, and they started on April 24th. They changed to Virus in Fulgur, all caps, and they went to normal casing. Then they dropped the alias. They went back to it a couple times. And then on July 28th, they went to Amazon.com. That's pretty funny. And you could also see the color changes here, which is pretty awesome. But, we all know that, who's this? Fulgur? Is that Oleg? Oleg's listening in the chat. That's a good troll, bro. I commend your trolling. but part of the Gossip Network, something that's been broadcast on it, that's associated with that pub key, can be tied to that identity if you stay with it, and that's why disposable pub keys could go a really long way, and that's why we're really looking forward to them. So let's see how it shakes out. All right. Got about another 15 minutes for this rip. So anyone who wants to get on, ask some questions, just hit that request button. We'll get you on stage. And,
Yeah, hop on up. I mean, I know Joko wants to troll me, so anyone is welcome to come up and ask some questions. Juan, I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, I wanted to
get hear you quite yet.
I wanted to get your take on something and see if I'm looking at this the right way.
Hey Juan, I know who this Juan is.
Yeah, you've been very kind of sharing your time with us and helping us sort through a lot of the development we're going through. So if you want now.
Oh, hold up, Juan. I think I accidentally muted you. Dude, I'm so sorry. Shit, what did I do? I went to go follow Juan on Twitter, and I removed him from the stage.
You might have blocked him.
No, Juan, I'm sorry. Oh, no, he's back. Juan, are you back, man?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, yes, sorry about that. I have butterfingers on the...
Can you listen?
Evan's fired.
Yeah, I could hear you. What's going on?
Yeah, all right. Sometimes my headphones aren't the best either. So I've met Evan, and just a quick introduction. I'm in Guatemala, and we're getting ready to roll out services, specifically Lightning Network services in El Salvador. And it's been very exciting, and I'll give you back any feedback that we get on the user experience just for normal people trying it out for the first time. And I had a question, or rather, I've been thinking a lot about what transaction count looks like on the Lightning Network, or what would be the upper limit. And from what I gathered, since it's a distributed network, it could manage a whole lot of transactions because they will not all be happening on the same node. Am I looking at this right? Or it's constrained by, it's not as much constrained by a hard limit, because as you add nodes, you can have more transactions happen on the network. Is this right? Or am I looking at this wrong?
I think you're looking at it right. There are some constraints in the amount of CPU power that your node has. There are constraints on your network capacity, how good your connection is to a peer. There's also limits on how many payments you could have in flight with the HTLC limits that's built into the protocol. I think it's currently set to something like 144 right now. But your overall assessment of it is correct. There is theoretically like no real limit to how big this can get. It's more dependent on, how many nodes we get rolling on here, how much capital is on here. The real constraint is the block space and how many channels we can open up. But some of that's alleviated with custodial nodes. Some of that is alleviated with hosted channels, and stuff like channel factors are going to help out too. But for the most part, there is no limit, and we don't really have to worry about that. There are some efforts. It might be a little early, but some people are really trying to put that high capacity to the test and to illustrate how fast the thing could really go. I would really like to see a lot of people get involved in this effort and really just show that we can really push a really crazy amount of transactions and value across the network really, really quickly. and that there's virtually no cap on this thing. And hopefully that effort comes to fruition sometime this year or next, and we could show the world that this thing is the real deal. And all your other bullshit that's out there, like, I don't know, like a nano or whatever, it's not, it doesn't have an edge on Lightning at all. Like, this is the real deal. We have the hard currency. We have built our network on a very strong foundation, and now we could take it to 100. So,
Ben, do you know of any
that
type
part of the
of
network.
scripts that can do automatic payments just to test, run it, and have several payments per second happen to a node? Has someone written something like this, or?
There are a couple of people who have created benchmark tools and benchmark scripts. I think Lalu's probably made a couple over at Lightning Labs. I know Greg Grubles on Twitter. He is over at Blockstream. Awesome guy, awesome account. He's done some benchmarking on C Lightning, which seems to be a little bit more performant than LND in my experience. Those guys might have some good benchmarking skills, but I would really like to see like a wide, display of the real capacities of this thing with some real capital, some hard body nodes, some really strong nodes, and some really awesome dashboard where people can watch along in live time and see us push this network to the max. Because, as I said, like those limits that are in place, they're like all quite artificial and easy to get around, and we could push around.
Hey Evan,
hundreds of bitcoins, thousands of bitcoins. Really
I recently
quickly
came across like some sort of analysis of all the implementations based on performance, and it seems that Eclair actually is the fastest currently. And I think a thing to note in this is also that C Lightning only has like one channel per node like open, and I guess in the other implementations you can have multiple channels with each other. Of course, you can run other C Lightning nodes as well, but I thought this was cool. I'll try to find the link and share it with you.
awesome. I'd love to see that. Yeah, it's cool to see different people's benchmarks. I think the conditions in which they're set up, the tests, are really important to take into account, as well as the network they're set up on and the hardware, as well as what version of the code base they're using. But yeah, interesting to see. I haven't seen the one with the head Eclair coming up top. I would figure that C is still more performant than Scala.
That was my thought too. Yeah.
I guess it also probably
comes
the database
down to
as well, right?
And how many writes and stuff like
definitely that. The date. 100% when you're getting to a limit where you're pushing it to the most you can do. Absolutely, like having one of those next gen SSDs that sort of look like a RAM stick, like those have much more writes and could definitely even be a bottleneck when you're getting that crazy. But also, at the code level, a lot of things make a difference too. So, yeah, like I said, I would really like to see more of these displays going on, less so between benchmarking the different implementations, because I think the top 3 or even 4 now with Rust Lightning are all very good. Let's put together some displays to show what the hell this network can really do. Let's knock some people's socks off and show people that all we need is Lightning. We don't need all these other stupid altcoins with their different security models.
So the bottleway.com has a blog, and there you can actually see some benchmarking which Juiced is putting together. And there you can actually see comparison between different Lightning implementations also. For Juiced's blog, C Lightning is the best performing actually. And one more remark I wanted to make about the single channel between nodes. So C Lightning and Eclair both supports single channel only. You cannot open multiple channels between the same nodes on C Lightning and Eclair, whereas you can do that on LND.
Yeah.
I see. Thanks for the correction.
Which, Vinny, you got to tell your folks over there to open that up.
Yeah, I'll see. I know like some of these people like that shadow channel stuff or whatever, where they can have like a certain size public channel and then like a private channel with each other to rebalance and stuff. I guess technically you could have just another C Lightning node and have that like a private channel. So I think there's different like ways to go around it. It gets pretty meta fast. Like a shadow node
Yeah.
then, right?
Shadow nodes, exactly. All right, so I got another speaker on board. We got Jason Wonder, in parentheses, libertarian. What is up, Jason? Can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing well. Thanks for joining us today. You have a question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. So I'm a Swan user, and I like to move my money to a Ledger wallet, and I noticed that they have an automatic withdrawal option, and I didn't know if you guys ever used it and can suggest whether I should or should not.
Auto withdraw. Hell yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, I think most of us here are pretty strong advocates for self-custody, and taking that into your own hands, whether it be automatically or manually, is very good. You may want to take into consideration the thresholds. I believe they have a threshold system on Swan, because I believe Swan is, I'm not sure if they added Lightning yet, but I assume you're talking about on-chain. And, it's Swan. You don't need to be creating new addresses, or I think you could pass them a pub key, but you don't necessarily need to, unless you're worried about an outside observer seeing an address getting these transactions. But even if you are using the same address, you still have all these different UTXOs that are going to it, and they still are counted sort of as different transactions if you want to spend them somewhere. So you may want to say, okay, auto withdraw, but do it at a certain threshold when the payment is big enough.
Yeah, normally...
that being... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was saying normally I let it get to a certain point and then I just do it myself. But if I could set it up to auto, like I auto buy, it would be just that much easier. But I'm a little hesitant about it because it just seems like, I don't know, just a little weird. I don't know why.
Yeah, definitely it is a little weird when you let go of control of something like that. But I think they have a pretty good team over there. I like the Swan guys. I've used their product before, and I thought it was quite good. So I think if you ever have any problems with it, you can always present them the data from your profile and your accounts, and they'll resolve any disputes. But yeah, I mean, any opportunity to take more custody of something, it seems like a good feature to have, and it's cool to see on that product.
Yeah, I've been using the Ledger wallet for a while, and I'm very happy with it. And I just came across Swan about a month ago, so I'm pretty new to Swan itself.
Sweet. So. I like Ledger as a device. It's really cool. It's definitely not my favorite, but the security, at least on the device, is pretty good. I would say that you might want to look into running your own node to verify your transactions at some point, because by default, if you're using the default Ledger app, you are using the Ledger's corporation's node to verify your transactions, and Ledger is getting a history of all your transactions, and are able to associate with your IP. So if you're at that step in your Bitcoin journey, I really recommend you get on and run your own node. Maybe check out Justifer's BTC Kindergarten episode. I think there's a recording of it, and you get your own little Raspberry Pi, have it in your office or next to your router, and you can either go use a different Bitcoin wallet, or I think you're now able to connect your own node to the Ledger interface with another middleware, I think. So yeah, definitely encourage that to be your next step.
Okay, yeah, that'll be the next one. I am not very computer savvy, so that's going to be a. I'm going to need that kindergarten class for sure.
Hell yeah!
Awesome. Yeah, Jason, it sounds like you're taking some really awesome steps for self-custody with using that Ledger device. So don't let us scare you, but there's always more that you can do as you like kind of make your way down this Bitcoin rabbit hole.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, I had heard before I bought the Ledger that there were security issues like a year or two ago, but I felt pretty comfortable from talking to a few people that it was the right move versus keeping it at the time on Coinbase. So.
Oh yeah, well, it's definitely improvement from Coinbase or letting any custodian hold it. I think the issue with Ledger was not with the actual device, but rather their database got hacked and leaked. The devices themselves are very secure. Better. So yeah, I think it's still a pretty solid hardware wallet. So it's awesome to hear.
Cool. If you don't mind, let me get the name of that kindergarten class. Is it a YouTube thing, I assume?
Yeah, you can look it up on YouTube. It's BTC Kindergarten. And you can also follow the Twitter at BTC Kindergarten.
Oh, okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, no problem, Jason. Have a good one.
Evan,
Quick comment
Thank you
here.
too.
Evan, just to take things back quickly to the benchmark, it turns out I was referring to the bottle pay one that was done 10 days ago, and it looks like maybe this is part of the release or something, but Eclair was able to benchmark with 10 channels, so that might have changed, and I sent it to you and Suheb, so very curious for your thoughts, once you get the chance to digest.
Cool. Thanks, V. Really appreciate it.
I was just doing some back of the envelope calculations and knowing that there's 14,000 nodes on the network. And if you assume all of them have like 2 channels so that they could route payments, and you do like 2 payments per minute for each of those nodes, you're already at 466 transactions per second, like for the network as a whole. And that's like a gross underestimate because all the nodes have way more channels than that. Like my Raspberry Pi has like close to 80 channels like currently going. So I could actually do way more payments, and then I think the limit would be in each channel there would be 483 in-flight HTLCs at once before it would puke. So yeah, there's way more than that, but we're already bypassing the Bitcoin blockchain by 2 orders of magnitude.
I just wanted to quickly comment on Jason's question a little bit and kind of bring us back around to where we started the show with Bolt 12. So obviously Swan does not support the Lightning Network yet. I think it's probably on the roadmap somewhere if I were to guess. But I think offers would actually be a really good thing here to kind of address, reoccurring purchases. So essentially, you could have, Swan set up with your node to automatically withdraw to, whatever threshold. And I think that would be so much better than getting it on chain. Like you would just have X amount of Bitcoin automatically in your, whatever node or wallet that you wanted into, Lightning wallet you wanted into. And I feel like the semantics of that control would be, far more, discreet than on, if you had the same kind of reoccurring payment on a credit card, one being a push technology, one being a pull technology. I'm kind of curious to kind of, maybe close out the show here. Sahib, you work on Ride the Lightning. Have you given much thought on what the interface might look like for offers, because obviously you're going to have this interface of, I have reoccurring payments with Evan, I have reoccurring payments with Justifer. I want to cancel the one to Justifer, I want to increase the one to Evan, what have you.
Yeah, so first of all, a disclaimer, I'm very early in understanding what offers is, right? So actually I was looking at the C-Lightning commands yesterday, last night only, to figure out, what interfaces are available right now. So my understanding is you have to first create a Bolt 12 invoice type collateral, right? So similar to your invoice creation in Bolt in 11 format, where you provide information like what amounts and possibly what expiry parameters you want to set. When you provide these inputs, you can create a Bolt 11 invoice. So similarly, you will provide some inputs on what type of payment you want to receive. There are some parameters to control. I'm not entirely familiar, still learning, but you will create a Bolt 12 invoice, right? So that's a offer creation. That's one part of the workflow. Then you have to initiate it, and then you can in the interface you can actually list the active offers, and you can also disable existing offers. So, from a UI perspective, what we'll do is we'll provide an interface to create offers. You will input some parameters and create around those controls. You will create your offers. We will give an interface to list the active offers, and then we will give you an interface, the control on the interface to disable offers. And then, I think the offers will be, you can use that offer information and create a QR code, and then, start getting payments on that offers. And so it's still very early. I think I kind of covered it very crudely, but I think I'll be able to weigh in on more maybe next week once I become more familiar with what all is available actually in C-Lightning. So,
oh hell yeah! next week, putting yourself on the clock. But my main takeaway is that I think it would be incredibly powerful to have a single screen in the app that lists all your subscriptions that are cancelable with 2 clicks in one place. Like, that's incredible. Think about the most subscriptions like you might have today or that you've ever had, like how arduous it is to go through every service provider site and make sure that it's canceled so you don't get billed again. Like, that's incredible. To be able to just clear them all out in like a minute. That's incredible in itself. But also perhaps the ability to be sort of prompted in your app as a reminder that this payment is going to go on, and to like okay it yourself. That also is really powerful, because if you forget about a subscription, will pop up in your app, and you have the ability to cancel it there on the spot, or just to like not accept it for that month and be like, okay, I'll come back to it later. I think that is like a huge 10x improvement in UX for subscriptions. Period.
Gotta stop, Evan. I can only get so bullish. Like, you're making the price pump. Just how attractive this is to be able to cancel all of your subscriptions at once from one screen on your node.
Oh man, and Justifer, if the quality of the amboss.space subscription does not continue to go up, I will be canceling it post haste.
I would expect nothing less from you. Thanks, Evan, for your diehard consumerism.
You wait. You guys are about to get all the feedback real soon. Oh, man. All right, let's cap it there, boys. I think this has been an awesome rip. Thanks for everyone who came back to listen to the space after us taking a week off. We all needed that week off, especially myself. So thanks for coming back. We'll be back at it next week. We're going to keep doing it. We're hoping to bring on more devs and more people involved in the community. Shouts out to Suheb from Ride the Lightning for joining us today. Shouts out to Vinny from Blockstream for all the great questions. Thanks for everyone who came on board. Thanks to Juan from Guatemala, who's got a really awesome product going on in Latin America and working on all those efforts. And thanks for anyone who's listening on YouTube, on the Amboss YouTube channel. Really stoked to be there. Shouts to anyone who may be listening on the Lightning Junkies feed. Chaz, are you going to put us on there? Are we worthy enough yet?
We are live streaming right now on the Lightning Junkies YouTube page.
Hell yeah.
Do you release
Excellent.
them too, Chaz? Like, I remember you released the first two or something.
Yeah, I uploaded the first two and then had some things happen where I just got sidetracked and didn't do it. But I have Kat on board, and we're going to kind of commit to doing this going forward here.
Sweet.
Sweet. I'm pumped. Yeah, it's been a great rip. I'm Evan Kalutis. You can find Zeus on Twitter at ZeusLN. We are ZeusLN.app on the web. You can find us on Telegram. We got our developer Slack. You could find us on amboss.space now. And yeah, hope to see y'all next week.
Catch you next week, folks.
Thank you. Bye, guys.